live and direct from the Golden State. It's intelligent talk media, The Denice Gary Show. Now, here's Denice Gary.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Denice Gary Show. I'm just very pleased today that we have an opportunity to listen to Denice Persha's story regarding her fight to end the pornographic, unconstitutional material that's currently part of the sex ed curriculum in the state of California. And before we have Denice begin, I just want to put this in context. It was in 2015 that the Democrats passed the California Healthy Youth Act, which amended the California Education Code. So in 2015, Democrats passed what is referred to, write it down so you'll have this information, the California Healthy Youth Act of 2015. When it amended the education code, it changed sex ed in this state. And so Christians and Jewish parents, even Muslim parents, they look at this sex ed curriculum today that promotes and challenges little children from grades K through 12. It challenges them about their gender. It promotes gender fluidity. It promotes the idea that homosexuality is appropriate. It has pictures of and talks about pornographic material that has to do with sex toys and lubricants. It's antithetical to the core beliefs of our Judeo-Christian tradition. And so we have, again, as I said, Denice Persha. She's a mother of three. She's been married for about 20 years. She's spent many years in the corporate world as a consultant. She's now a stay-at-home mom. And when it came to her attention that the sex ed curriculum code was changed and that it's impacting her children on an elementary school level, she got involved. Denice has completed her master's degree at San Jose State University. She graduated in 1996. She also completed an undergraduate degree in 1988. She's a well-educated mother of three who's here to tell us about her research and findings. Now, ladies and gentlemen, she's authored a bill, and the bill is SB 673. But I also want to say, we've heard from Aileen Blakowski, and she's asking all of us to repeal AB 329. Denice, welcome to the broadcast.
Well, thank you, Denice. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to your audience today about this bill, SB 673, which would amend the Healthy Youth Act, which is AB 329.
Oh, AB 329, okay. Which is what, ladies and gentlemen, Arlene is asking for. Aileen, the difference, ladies and gentlemen, between Denice and Aileen is Aileen's asked for it to be repealed. Of course, we have a supermajority of Democrats in the state legislature. So Denice has decided to take the position, well, since we can at least hopefully amend it with the people currently in the state legislature, let's go for amending it. So Denice, tell us what your bill, this amendment to AB 329, your amendment, SB 673, is set to do.
Well, it has three clear, concise, and simple asks or amendments in it to the Healthy Youth Act, AB 329. And this particular requirement that I'm asking for in this amendment, SB 329, is, first of all, only applies to TK through 6th grade. And the law, AB 329, the Healthy Youth Act, requires instruction for students at least once in middle school and at least once in high school, and it's required under the law, 11 topics. So districts are roped into this law when they decide or they choose to teach this content to elementary age students, but the content content is not required by law for elementary age students. It's just through district choice.
So let me stop you. Let me stop you right there. So there are districts that, even though this AB 329 that people are calling for, including myself, that it be repealed because of the pornographic nature of the sex ed curriculum, you're saying that some districts are choosing to introduce it for grades K through 6. And may I ask you, based on your research, why would school districts want to introduce such mature content to small children?
Well, first of all, they are required to implement age-appropriate curriculum. However, they aren't. That's really what the issue is. They are not implementing age-appropriate curriculum. And why they would want to do that, I don't know. But my conversations with various legislators and various teachers and even my board of education, there is a lot of pressure from these lobbying groups who are pushing this curriculum into elementary grade levels, and they say that it's equity. So there's a law called SB 48, which is the Equity Act or the FAIR Act, and we can't discriminate against individuals based on their sexual orientation or gender identity. And so when districts go to teach sex ed, the old sex ed, which was puberty and reproduction, remember, just 2 lessons, but they want to update their lessons, they look to the Healthy Youth Act to look for content or topics, and they are implementing those topics, not just puberty and reproduction, but 11 topics under the law considered comprehensive. Now remember, we're talking about my students who are in 5th grade who are going to receive 11 lessons, each lesson, 40 to 50 minutes in length. So you got to ask yourself, well, what are they teaching them? And that was kind of the first question I asked when I found out there's 11 lessons. What are they talking about?
What are they talking about, Denice, and 11 lessons? I mean, what else there is to explain other than simple reproduction and maybe a little bit of understanding with regards to the health of the body and the health of a baby, issues of that nature. I mean, I can see them talking about, purely health-related, maybe food-related, nutrition-related kinds of information. Apart from, yes.
Well, sex ed is no longer the sex ed of your youth or even your parents' youth. It is, as I said, it's not about reproduction and puberty. It's about gender orientation, sexual identity. It's about not anti-bullying and a host of other topics under the law, including HIV, STDs, and they are supposed to talk about abstinence, but in my particular case, for my district, which is Mount Diablo Unified School District, they never discussed abstinence with these children, but they did discuss sexual anatomy with them, and they asked them to color in a woman's sexual anatomy, including perhaps a word I cannot say on radio.
Go ahead.
That is very sensitive, right, considered sensitive, and they told them this is the clitoris, it is very sensitive. And then they talked about masturbation in a boy's video. And
hold on. They showed a video in the classroom?
Yes, that talked about puberty, but also discussed masturbation or pleasure.
So they showed a video that talked about masturbation in the classroom?
Yes, and it was a cartoon video, by the way, by an organization called Amaze.org. And in fact, this organization, Amaze, worked with the curriculum makers, which is Advocates for Youth. That was the curriculum that my district implemented. And oh, by the way, they implemented all 11 topics under the law, considered comprehensive, without a board review. No board discussion, no board vote, and no parent input. They just rolled it right out.
Now, where can my listeners get a list of these 11 topics that are being placed in, or that not being placed, but these 11, well, they are. They've been placed in the California Healthy Youth Act of 2015. So there's 11 topics in there, and they're applying them to these small children. Where can we get a list of those 11 topics?
Well, first of all, what I would do is for your listeners, I would go to their district, their school district, and ask what is the name of the curriculum that they're using, because each district in California can choose to teach any of these 7 approved curriculums. So my particular district implemented this curriculum from Advocates for Youth, and as I said, one of the lessons was titled Sexual and Reproductive Anatomy. Now, the slide for reproductive anatomy is something that probably most of us have seen in sex ed classes when we were younger, but the sexual anatomy slide is, I'm sure, not anything anybody has ever seen.
I'm sure I haven't.
And it's pretty explicit. I mean, it asks the kids to work together, boys and girls together, and in the same room, and they do discuss, various sexual organs.
Now let me, as an educator who's been in the classroom for years, and and of course I work with adults, but early on I worked with children as well, years and years and years ago. I cannot even imagine, as someone who has taught probably every level of education, from K all the way up to the University of California, Irvine, I cannot imagine students of any age being able to properly handle a discussion in a professional manner about parts of one's body and issues of sex and masturbation. Can you picture that, Denice?
Well, no, I can't, and that's why my children were opted out of the lessons.
Good idea.
But, when we talk about...
Go ahead. Denice?
You may have lost her.
Did we lose you? Denice, we can't hear you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we will have to call her back. Maybe she accidentally pressed the mute button. Sometimes things like that happen. Let me get Denice back on the phone. In the meantime, we will take a commercial break. Thank you for listening.
I want to tell you about a place I love to go, Frugatti's Italian Restaurant. Very few locations here provide seating outside in front of a fabulous water fountain with an atmosphere that is reminiscent to me of eating outdoors in Venice. This is real Italian food by real Italians. And what makes it even more so is owner Ralph Frugoletti, who nearly a quarter century ago brought a wood fire oven from Milan, Italy to make, like his mother, fresh homemade bread and pizzas. Moreover, Frugatti's Restaurant offers you not only the very best in Southern Italian cooking, even importing the finest ingredients for authentic Italian food, including a fitness menu. After all, Ralph has represented the United States and Italy, competing in the Master Championship Games. He knows all the right food for good fitness, so check out the menu. After today's broadcast, run over to Frugatti's Italian Restaurant and Catering at 600 Coffee Road here in Bakersfield. And after a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday service, stop into Frugatti's for a great lunch. I'll see you there, and tell Mr. Ralph Frugoletti that Denice sent you. Salute! Bon appetito!
Ladies and gentlemen, here we are with Barb Reynolds Wallstrom today. She is the owner and operator of Tehachapi Court Services, serving the entire Kern County area. Welcome, Barb.
Thank you, Denise.
You've been at the top of your game in terms of legal matters for many, many years. And I want you to tell the audience today, what is the difference between a legal document assistant to pro per litigants as opposed to a paralegal? What's the difference?
A legal document assistant such as I has been involved with the legal work for many years, as a matter of fact, decades, and I feel quite competent and capable of helping people throughout Kern County for legal needs that they really need assistance with
Sure.
and can't afford an attorney.
Right.
So I'm here in Bakersfield 3 and 4 times a week. If people need me, they can call me. If they can't get to me, and why is that? Because people have to work during the day. The clients I serve are working people.
And
There
you
are a lot
go
of
to
blue
Shafter
collars.
and Wasser, and you're
Absolutely.
there in Tehachapi.
I'll go there.
You're just everywhere.
I'm everywhere. And Denise, I'm not tied to a 9-to-5 environment.
Yeah.
I go where my clients need me at whatever hour. I love doing that, and they can call me. I will come to them. They can call me at whatever hour aside from 9 to 5 because people need answers and they need them quickly.
She, Barb Reynolds-Wallstrom is so passionate about what she does. She loves it. She's been in the business for decades, and she's the gal you want to call. You help people handle their adoptions, right?
Adoptions,
And
bankruptcies, also divorces, unlawfully tainted, which are evictions, conservatorships, guardianships, living trusts. I pretty much run the gamut after 47 years.
Wow.
So
How do people reach you, Barb? What
they
do
can contact me at area code 661-805-3306.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to call Tehachapi Court Services today. Talk to Barb. She can be reached at 661-805-3306. It's there on the screen. Give her a call. She will work with you hand in glove.
right.
Hand in glove. To
I walk
take
every step of the way with my clients.
Excellent. She'll work with you and get the job done. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to apologize. Apparently they were having some mobile phone or cell tower issues there where Denice Persha lives. Denice, welcome back to the show. Thank you so much for calling us back.
Well, thank you, Denise. I appreciate that. Sorry about that.
Well, we appreciate
Sometimes
you.
I just get problems with the cell tower,
Sure.
coverage here.
Sure, I understand. So I believe that we were interrupted by technical difficulties at a time when you were indicating that parents, if they wanted to find out if, for example, let's say they have a child in 3rd grade, grades K through 6. If they have a child, let's say in the 3rd grade, they want to find out if sex ed is being taught to their child at an elementary school in the district, they need to call the district office and they need to ask them, are you teaching at this particular school sex ed to my child? And if so, what is the name of the curriculum? I want to see it. I want to see the curriculum that's being taught at the school where my child is going to school. Is that correct, Denice? Is that the question that parents ask?
Yes, they would ask about the name of the curriculum, and then they might be able to review it either online if they could find it somewhere, or they could go down to the district offices and ask to review it. Now, for the most part in California, at least at this point, even though the Healthy Youth Act allows sex ed curriculum to be taught actually TK through 12th grade.
You say TK. What's TK?
Transitional kindergarten. So they
pre-K,
at
okay.
any point, TK, but transitional kindergarten through the 12th grade. And they are allowed to under the law. However, most districts that I know that teach sex ed in elementary school are teaching it either in the 4th, 5th, or 6th grade. And in my case, my district taught it in the 5th grade.
Okay. So parents, I encourage you to find out, is your child at a school, an elementary school, because we know they're teaching it starting in grade 7 or 8th. So, but it's not mandatory that these school districts teach it in elementary school. So Find out, is your child being taught sex ed? And if so, what's the name of the program? What is the name of the curriculum that's being taught at your child or grandchild's school? And then ask them, what is the link? You know, say to the school district, what is the link? I want the link to review this online. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, just as Denice Persha did, you can take your children out of school. And this is, what does a parent say, Denice, if they want their children or their child or their grandchild to opt out of school because they don't want them to be taught by possibly some liberal progressive instructor that's going to promote transgenderism or going to promote and encourage homosexuality or possibly this gender fluidity and challenge your little one's idea of who they are, i.e. are they a boy or are they a girl or are they an it? I mean, how do you do that? Is it lawful? Can you just take your child out of school if you feel upset and disturbed about the curriculum?
Well, first we need to answer, what is the sex ed curriculum? And as I said, my district taught all 11 topics under the law, including reproduction and puberty and gender identity and sexual orientation. Now, the law, the Healthy Youth Act, actually separates sex ed topics like puberty and reproduction, HIV, STDs, as sex ed curriculum. And then there's these other topics that are actually allowed to be taught at any time, including gender identity and sexual orientation and challenging gender stereotypes to kindergartners.
So if I'm a little, so if a little girl says, "Oh, I love pink," you know, the teacher says, "What color are you like?" And the little girl says pink, and the teacher asks the little boy, "What color you like?" And he says blue. What does the teacher say? Why do you like that?
Well, she could say that, why do you like that? And if the girl said, because I'm a girl, I like pink, then she could say, well, maybe you should expand your horizon and look at other colors, because pink doesn't mean girl and blue doesn't mean boy, right? So they can even challenge the gender stereotype by saying, this is in the health education standards, by the way, called the frameworks, California Health Education Frameworks, that they can challenge a child's gender stereotype, and it can even say that just because you have a penis doesn't make you a boy. And
they can suggest that?
And they can share books starting in kindergarten about gender identity and about gender identity, not sexual orientation, but gender identity. And they can have books that they're going to read to the students in the classroom. Now, my bill, SB 673, will not fix any of the issues about the curriculum.
Oh. We're having, ladies and gentlemen, I am so sorry. She says in her area there's cell tower issues and sometimes they just lose connection. Once again, we've lost connection. I'm going to leave it on. Maybe she'll come back. Should we go to another break? My producer tells me we should take another break. We're going to wrap this up with her pretty quickly because I'm sorry, Denice, we can't keep going through this. And so we'll let her quickly explain her bill. One thing I want to say before we go to break, and that is this. I believe that we really need to repeal California Healthy Youth Act of 2015. This is what requires these 11 topics that are absolutely antithetical to our Judeo-Christian values. We wouldn't even teach it at home. And I think it's incredible that the Democrats got away with this. And this is why we need to, here she is. Hi, Denice, you're back with us, I see.
Yeah, I'm going to try.
So,
see if that works better than my landline. There was a fire just a couple blocks away, so I don't know if maybe that's interrupting the service.
Absolutely, sure.
Since all of the lines are underground, and they had a little fire, a little grass fire.
Okay.
So where were we?
Well, you were saying that your bill, this amendment, you're introducing an amendment to the California Healthy Youth Act of 2015, which is the SB, it's AB 329. I was just telling the audience, after we lost you, we've got to vote Republican so we can get this AB 329 repealed. But your amendment to AB 329 is SB 673. We're asking everybody to call their member in the state legislature to support it. Explain your bill quickly to the audience, what your bill will do.
So there's three things about my bill that it will do. It will ask districts to place all curriculum and content online for ease of parent review. Because in my case, I had to go down to the district offices in order to review it. Since there were 11 lessons that were considered comprehensive that were taught to my fifth graders, 10-year-olds, it takes perhaps about an hour to review all the lesson plans, the homework, and review the videos. Well, a parent who is a single mom cannot go down to the district offices and review that for 11 hours. They just don't have the time.
Right.
And then secondly, it asks for a return to parent active opt-in, which means that you sign on the dotted line, that you have reviewed the curriculum, and that your child is allowed this instruction. And what that does is it protects teachers and school districts in case parents misunderstand what's being taught. And that way then a teacher's credential can't be called into question. And then it does one more thing. There are two parts of the law that talk about age-appropriate and medically accurate information. In one part of the law, it says it may be age-appropriate and medically accurate. And then in another section of the law, it says it shall be age-appropriate and medically accurate. So when I saw that in the law, I actually called the Department of Education and I had a talk with them about why do you have two sections of the law that don't use exactly the same terminology? And the individual told me because AB 329 was created with wiggle room. So since we have children who are 5 to 12 years old who may be instructed in these topics, then we must have age appropriate. It shall be age appropriate and medically accurate, and there can be no wiggle room when we're talking about elementary age students. I also created these three amendments so that they would not attack AB 329 as it is written. In other words, they would not change anything about the law, AB 329, because it's required content for 7th grade and above, but that it would amend the law to allow for these three items for elementary age students because it just made sense that students should have age-appropriate curriculum and that it shall be done, that they should have online reviews so parents have the ease of review at home so that they don't have to go down to district offices, and that they actively sign their children, sign on the dotted line for this participation in this curriculum.
Because but let me interrupt you, I'm sorry. So your bill wants them to have to sign in because that way your children don't have to attend. No child has to attend if the parent doesn't sign on the dotted line that they are going to go along with this. So their child can legally not go to school that day or does not have to stay in the classroom, which is going to put a lot of pressure on a child. So
the way that they normally work it is your child still goes to school, but they provide other valuable instruction to them that's not about sex ed.
Well, that's
so,
going to
for
put
instance,
go
ahead.
I'm sorry, but that's going to put a lot of pressure on that child because if a lot of the other children are staying in the classroom because the parents didn't bother to find out what was going on, and so just maybe a few children get up and get to walk out, everybody else in the classroom is going to say, why do they get to walk out? And question 2 will be, where are they going? And we want to go too. So that puts a lot of pressure on a child. I'm wondering why it isn't better to just be able to opt that child out of school that day, and that way they don't have to put up with any of the pressure or the stigmatism that maybe some nasty teacher is going to place on the child for not sitting through it because their parents don't want them to. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I would recommend opting out. Absolutely. I would recommend, as Aileen Blakowski suggests from Informed Parents of California, on their Facebook page, they have a lot of information there. I would suggest repealing this AB 329, because it has brought these topics that are not age appropriate into the classroom. And think about the teacher. I mean, really, think about a teacher that has to teach this material, no matter who they are, and then they are accused, as children often make thinking decisions that are not quite correct, that they were told something that was not age appropriate, and the credential of the teacher is called into question. And children often make mistakes about the information they hear, especially when they're younger, and especially when they're considered what you would call concrete thinkers. They're not abstract thinkers, and they're not able to internalize the information in a way and then make appropriate decisions. So if you had a child making inappropriate decisions about the information that they heard, I could see that perhaps teachers would be the first point of where a parent would be accusatory, right?
Right.
And so, I would strongly suggest opting out. And in my case, my children were opted out, but they still heard information on the playground and came to me to ask me about that information. Even though, my husband and I took them through a little bit of the information that we thought was age appropriate, they then came back and asked me other information. For instance, my son and daughter, because I have twins, were in the car, which is always when they ask you the questions, I think, and they said to me, my son said to me, Mom, does the penis go inside the vagina? And my daughter followed up with, yeah, do I have a hole in my body? And of course, I had to address that with them. That yes, that is true. And though we had talked about the sperm and the egg, we had not gotten graphic enough to talk to them about exactly how that occurs. But a lesson in the classroom talked about reproduction and puberty. That was the name of the lesson, reproduction and puberty. Asked students to cut out the steps to reproduction, and one of the steps was the penis is inserted into the vagina.
In fifth grade.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Grade. That's in 5th grade?
Yes, 10-year-olds. So they told them exactly how to have sex. They discussed masturbation with them. They told them that the clitoris was sensitive. And I asked my board, who do you think is going to be more curious about the clitoris, boys or girls?
This is just absolutely absurd. And I bet there wasn't even one mention of abstinence.
No, as a matter of fact, you're right. There was not one mention except for these words, quoting, some people wait. Now, the Healthy Youth Act
Some people wait for what?
I guess for sex. Some people wait. But, the Healthy Youth Act does require districts to discuss abstinence, and there are 2 sentences in the law that says that they should make a valid and valuable case for it. And when I asked my district why they never discussed the valid and valuable case of abstinence with 10-year-olds, 10 and 11-year-olds who are in 5th grade, they said because that's teaching morals. And we can't teach morals. So, of course, I told my staffer, so are you telling me you don't teach honesty? How about being nice, kind? You don't teach those? Those are morals. And then she followed up with, we can't teach religious morals. because we have to teach institutional values.
Well, last time I checked, it was religion that taught us to love one another and do unto others as we would have them do unto us. Last time I checked, that's a Judeo-Christian principle that's spelled out in both the Torah as well as the New Testament. So it seems to me there's quite a bit of overlap between what children are taught in school. For example, the Ten Commandments clearly says, thou shalt not commit murder. Are we teaching institutionalized morals, or are we teaching religion? Are we teaching the Ten Commandments when it says, thou shalt not commit murder? What about the Ten Commandments, that one of the commandments that states, thou shalt not steal? So is that an institutionalized moral, or is that a religious moral? And isn't that what the United States is all about, is a country that was founded and rooted in our Judeo-Christian values, and that indeed our institutional values come from our Judeo-Christian culture, tradition, and belief system. That's where institutions get their values, last time I checked.
According to the CDC, the reason why you would make a valuable and valid case for abstinence is because it reduces your lifetime risk. And in fact, the longer you wait to have sex, the lower your risk. And of course, if you abstain, your risk is zero. And that's what they needed to tell these little children, that they should wait to have sex until they're much older, because it's safer for them and it lowers their risk. And it's just better because we want them focused on academics and not about something that is an adult topic, right? Or something that is a special, situation. Like you don't want to just have sex with anyone. You want to wait, right, for the special person. They didn't even talk about that, let alone that my children have been, we've asked them to wait until marriage, because we want them focused on academics, and we want them to lower, to keep themselves safe. That's what I want as a mom, right? Keep my kids safe from STDs, safe from HIV. And though my district did discuss HIV, they never discussed STDs with the children. The staff are telling me because they didn't want to frighten the children.
Wow, that's not the most intellectual term in the world, but this is unbelievable. Okay, Denice. Well, I'm so disturbed by this. Ladies and gentlemen, not having sex before marriage is more about just keeping yourself safe and healthy. You have to think about the long-term ramifications. If sex becomes nothing more than something akin to kissing somebody or holding their hands, what is the specialness about a covenant relationship that you enter into with another person, in which sex is supposed to be the culmination of a tremendous sense of intimacy and specialness that's only relatable to that relationship, i.e. that marriage relationship? It just removes the specialness of a covenant or committed relationship to another person, and that further degrades, I think, the institution of family. And of course, if a child does get pregnant, the option always is discussed as abortion. And of course, we know, based on research studies, that the long-term effects of aborting your unborn child can be great and severe and lead to tremendous depression later in life, when the ramifications of it all begins to seep in to an older, more mature thinking person. Denice, I'll let you have the last word.
Well, my last word to parents is that in the age range of 13 to 24, which is not elementary school, STDs are considered epidemic in this country for that age range, and they've even been stated to be skyrocketing. And in fact, last year the STD rate increased by 250,000 cases in that age range. And so,
and the age range is 13, you said, to 24.
That's correct. And though there are some, indications that, as my staffers in my district told me, that 13-year-olds or younger that 3% of them have initiated sex. And then, of course, I did some research and I found out the reason why they were having sex at 13 or younger wasn't because they were seeking pleasure. No. These children were raped, sex trafficked, or molested, but yet the district was using the figure of 3% have sex as the reason why they needed to teach such graphic information to 10-year-olds, because they had to prepare them so that they would be prepared with information that would protect them.
Well, that's hardly going to protect them in case of rape or molestation or human trafficking.
Right, exactly. But not about protecting them and making appropriate decisions by giving them inappropriate information. That's not going to lower that STD rate, right? We have to think about what is age appropriate for the child at this age range. And their excuse was, well, children are exposed to pornography at younger and younger ages. And I said, well, yes, then talk about pornography, but you don't have to instruct children on how to have sex. You don't have to instruct them that the penis is inserted into the vagina. You don't have to point out the clitoris is sensitive to them, and you don't have to teach boys and girls together, who are 10 years old, working side by side, cutting and pasting the steps to reproduction on a sheet of paper. That just doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense for any junior high student. Junior high students are, how emotional they can get,
Yes.
or high school students. It doesn't make sense for anyone, and that is underage. And I just would say to all of you parents that I would ask you to call your school district and demand to know what your child is learning under AB 329, and then you demand that the school district take a stand against indoctrinating children in pornographic material that's age inappropriate. Age inappropriate. This is all age inappropriate. And they get back to teaching people things like reading and writing and mathematics and science, and think about what the whole point of a public school education is, and it's not to prep people for acts of sexual misconduct. Denice, thank you so much for coming.
I appreciate the time very much, Denice, and thank you to you and all of your listeners today.
President Trump has correctly stated that economic security is national security, and in the Tehachapi Mountains of Kern County resides a United States defense contractor, Anates Products. Here is the Silicon Valley of the aerospace industry, right here in East Kern. Anates Products is a forward-leaning manufacturer and distributor of hardware sold to major defense and aerospace companies. We're talking about Boeing, Lockheed Martin, United Technologies, Northrop Grumman, Raytheon General Electric, and on the list goes, as well as to every United States ally worldwide, including Israel, America's most important strategic ally in the Middle East. And for everything that flies, Anates Products is providing the parts. And with me today is the president of Anates Products, Scott Baker. Hi, Scott.
How you doing?
Scott, tell us why you believe this corner of Kern County is the hub of the aerospace industry.
Well, this portion of Southern California here out in the Antelope Valley, it contains, some of the most cutting-edge technology going on in aviation today. We have some of the UCAS programs with unmanned technologies going on. We have Edwards Air Force Base out here who's doing continual testing in their area. We have the Naval Weapons Station up there at China Lake doing some fantastic cutting-edge stuff, cruise missile technology, and those things are going on. We have Scale Composites locally doing a lot of composite technology, which is new. We have SpaceX, which is a private one, a private entity putting things into space now. This area is the growth center for aviation's future, and this is the area I think that as a nation we need to be concentrating some of our effort in taking this technology. And as we all know, with the space program from Apollo years ago, out of these technologies, we, the private sector, are going to reap some of the benefits of that.
Thank you, Scott. Ladies and gentlemen, Scott Baker, president of Anatase Products. Anatase Products, located in the beautiful mountains of Tehachapi, California, in eastern Kern County, is home to some of the most innovative and specialized technologies in the world, including those at the U.S. Naval Air Warfare Center, Weapons Division at China Lake, Edwards Air Force Base, as well as Stratolaunch, launching satellites capable of delivering multiple orbits in a single flight to space. And it is Anatase Products that has provided the manufactured devices, and the president, Scott Baker of Anatase Products, Marine Corps veteran, reactivated on 9/11 to monitor threats to the homeland, is carrying on a tradition of providing for the security of the United States by manufacturing every kind of fastener on anything that flies, as well as providing a full testing destructive laboratory. Contact Anatase Products, now in business for 30 years, at 661-822-6873. Located at 1314 Goodrich Drive in Tehachapi, for your manufacturing and testing needs today.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so thrilled I've got the owner of Scope 365 Fitness here with me today, Craig Jansen, Navy veteran. Craig, tell the audience out there why everybody in town needs to come over here and join.
Well, Sculpt 365 is a 24-hour club, so we never close, unlike a lot of other clubs here in town. Additionally, our club is always super clean, and one of the things that you're going to find here is a different environment. We strive to give you a VIP experience here, so we want to get to know you. We want to know your story. We want to know about you and how we can help you succeed and meet all of your fitness goals.
Wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, come on down to Scope 365 Fitness. You're located right here on Brim Hall. Tell us your other location.
We have another location up in Tehachapi. And then our third location here in town is also located over on Chester and Columbus in the Food Mac Shopping Center.
Thank you so much, Craig. You have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, wow, what a fabulous interview. Maybe fabulous isn't the right word, but I just thought it was tremendous, because that is really important information that every parent in the state of California needs to know. But changing subjects, let's talk about Sculpt 365 Fitness. So you saw the commercial. I want you to know he's got lots of specials. Give him a call. Craig Jansen, the owner, the operator, the president of Sculpt 365 Fitness. Give him a call at 661, area code 679-7116, 661-679-7116. He's got a Tehachapi, California location there in Oildale on Chester Avenue, and then, of course, Brim Hall Road. Ladies and gentlemen, he's who you want to sign up for. He's our Navy veteran. We just love him. Okay, it's over. Well, let's see. Is it really over? As far as I'm concerned, it should be over. So, Russiagate, turns out, is nothing at all like Watergate. And I wanted to read to you the remarks that were made by the AG William Barr this morning when he stepped up to talk to the American people, to anyone that was interested in listening from around the world. And I thought it was tremendous. And in fact, what I also think is interesting is prior to the Attorney General William Barr's news conference about the Mueller report and its release, the president was getting teed up to speak at a Wounded Warriors event. And, I thought to myself, how interesting, at a time when the president is being exonerated, in essence. I mean, in my mind, he already was when William Barr, the Attorney General, told us back in March, there's no collusion, ladies and gentlemen. That's the bottom line. You know, there's no collusion and there's no obstruction. Again, how could there be an obstruction to a crime? I know that what Mueller did in his report, that was 400 and I didn't print out the whole thing. I think it was, I'm trying to remember the number I saw on the screen, because when I went to the document and I was printing out parts that I was most interested in, I believe it said 488, but I might be wrong. Could be 438. It was early this morning. But at any rate, I just want to say that isn't it something that after millions of dollars, we're talking 30 million, millions, 30 million dollars, taxpayer dollars. Later, Dems have not been able to come up with a crime to prosecute. So let me just share out one of the things that William Barr stated. He says, you know, the primary purpose of the special counsel's investigation was to determine whether members of the presidential campaign of Donald J. Trump or any individuals associated with that campaign conspired or coordinated with the Russian government to interfere in the 2016 election. And Volume 1 of the special counsel's report, that in which I read parts of it that I was most interested in, describes the results of the investigation. So the Mueller report is in 2 volumes. And the investigation, this is the remarks, this is from the New York Times, this is the transcript that was published by the New York Times this morning on the remarks that Barr made. He said, as you can see, the special counsel's report states that his, quote, investigation did not establish that members of the Trump campaign conspired or coordinated with the Russian government in its election interference activities. And that basically, in the end, William Barr stated that all Americans can and should be grateful to have this information confirmed. And I'm thinking to myself, you bet. And yet Jerry Nadler and Nancy Pelosi and all the Democrats were tweeting and having press conferences and talking about how they were going to go after President Trump. In so many words, they're saying how they're going to go after the president. And they're going to look into what the Mueller report referred to in the 2nd volume as theories of possible obstruction. Now you have to remember that they can only be theories because there was no crime to obstruct. Let me tell you what the theories are real quick. These are the theories. For example, when the president pondered out loud in speeches that he gave about firing Mueller, the theory is that could be determined to be an obstruction of justice because he was pondering out loud regarding the idea that he should fire Mueller, because after all, ladies and gentlemen, what was this $30 million special investigation about? Special counsel was told to investigate information about collusion that was part of a fake dossier by a former British spy, MI5 spy, who absolutely hated President Trump. And why Hillary Rodham Clinton had to get herself involved with a former MI5 spy that hated the president, I don't know, but she spent a lot of money to get a phony dossier that had false and misleading information. So remember, you spent $30 million to have Mueller, Robert Mueller, who the day before Rosenstein hired him to be special counsel for this special investigation, the day before, had been denied by the President of the United States an opportunity to be the next FBI director. Remember, Robert Mueller, once upon a time before James Comey, was the FBI director. Well, he went for a job interview with President Donald Trump, and Donald Trump didn't want to hire him to be his FBI director. And the day after that, Rosenstein, the Deputy Attorney General, is hiring Mueller to be special counsel. And who did Mueller run out and hire? Mueller ran out and hired, for example, people that were liberal progressives that are still working for the DOJ. Mueller, by the way, is still on the DOJ payroll, I assume. He's still part of the DOJ team, Department of Justice. But isn't it interesting that Mueller, after not being hired by Trump, went out and hired all of these lawyers that donated money to Hillary Rodham Clinton's presidential campaign? People that, in one instance, I'm thinking of one of the women, I believe her last name is Lee. She actually worked for the Clinton Foundation, worked as an attorney for Hillary Rodham Clinton, worked as an attorney for not only her, but again, the Clinton Foundation. So Mueller went out and hired people that had tremendous animosity towards the president because they wanted to see Hillary Rodham Clinton. So as far as I'm concerned, the entire 30 million taxpayer funded investigation was promoted and pushed and kept going and going and going because you had these attorneys that Mueller hired that really had an axe to grind. And I understand that one of them was really brutal. And I will never forget, and I saw this article and I wanted to share what this one author wrote. This is an article in The Hill, and his name is Mark Penn. And he said, you know, the fact that Mueller and his team of attorneys would send 26 agents to Roger Stone's home. This is an entertainer. Roger, wouldn't you consider, I'm talking to my producer, wouldn't you consider Roger Stone an entertainer?
He's kind of got that vibe on him.
He's kind of an entertainer. I mean, what does he do for a living? What did he do for a living before he came under investigation? I mean, go ahead. He's going to look it up. But, you know, I didn't see Roger Stone as any real player in the Trump administration, but the Mueller investigation, the special counsel for the special investigation, had 26 agents show up at his house with automatic weapons drawn, and it terrified his wife, who is deaf. And I just want to play devil's advocate for a moment. How many of you that don't like President Trump? How many of you Democrats and independents that have listened to this show and you think, I hate President Trump? How many of you can, for a moment, consider the fact that what if you were accused of a crime, a felony crime, a crime that's being prosecuted by a federal prosecutor, and you knew from the moment you heard about it that you were innocent, which is exactly what the IG has said, exactly what Congress has said, until the Democrats got in the majority. It's exactly what Mueller said. It's exactly what William Barr, our Attorney General, has said. Based on all the information that's been read and studied and gone over and over and over, what if you had been accused of a crime and you got up and you said over and over and over again, because you are upset Some days you probably felt sad. Other days you might have felt depressed by it. Other days you might have felt your hands were tied. Other days you may have felt it's an embarrassment because here you are in this leadership position and people are wondering if you've committed some crime and are involved in graft and corruption and aiding and abetting the Russian government and overturning an election in America. I mean, think about all the emotions that President Trump must have gone through day to day over a 2.5-year period. Just thinking about the sense of shame or embarrassment that half the country spends hours on end listening to news broadcasts that are put out by CNN and MSNBC and ABC and CBS and NBC. Constant put-downs, jokes at the president's expense, constantly attacking him every single day, night and day, on something that you knew about yourself that you were not guilty. Put yourself in that position. Imagine how the president has felt over the last 2.5 years. I can't imagine personally going through something where 2.5 years people have accused me of being guilty of crime or crimes that I knew I absolutely was not guilty of. And if it were you probably used more colorful words other than, well, it's a witch hunt. It's not true. I'm thinking about firing the special counsel. I'm thinking about firing individuals involved because you know what, bottom line, the president could have done that at any point in time. He could have, but he didn't. So when you think about when the Democrats move forward from this day on, they're going to talk about the theories of obstruction. So one of their theories that the Democrats are going to glom onto is this theory that President Trump talked about firing Mueller. The fact that he fired Comey. The fact that he talked about it, the whole idea that it was a witch hunt. That he even talked about it at all in public. These are called theories of obstruction of justice. But again, there's no crime, so he couldn't obstruct justice. So just think about that. Think about this. When the president, whose friend, a general, Mike Flynn, was nailed to a cross because the Mueller team was going after General Michael Flynn. And of course, Flynn thought they were his friends. The FBI came to talk to him, and he thought it was all just friendly and nice. He was naive. He had no idea. The next time he talks to the FBI and the special count, which, you know, FBI and lawyers, these special counsel lawyers, he doesn't know that they have a transcript of everything that Michael Flynn has said. So when they ask him a question, and Mike Flynn says, well, I don't remember, because he doesn't remember. And then the attorney says, well, you said this on that date. We just got you for perjury, buddy. We just got you for lying to the federal government. This is exactly what the Mueller team wanted to do, is catch people up in maybe saying something one way one day, and then maybe not remembering it on another day, or remembering it a little differently, such as the way my mind operates. I don't always remember something, and when I do remember it, I might remember it one day being this way, and you know, your subconscious, it goes round and round in the subconscious, and the next time you talk about it, you know, some other thought may come into your mind about the same event, which you might mention. That's called perjury. And Lieutenant General Michael Flynn never should have sat down with anybody from the special counsel. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to listen to William Barr, the Attorney General. There's just a slice of it I wanted you to hear in his press conference today, this morning.
Quote, investigation did not establish that members of the Trump campaign conspired or coordinated with the Russian government in its election interference activities. I am sure that all Americans share my concern about the efforts of the Russian government to interfere in our presidential election. As the special counsel report makes clear, the Russian government sought to interfere in our election process. But thanks to the special counsel's thorough investigation, we now know that the Russian operatives who perpetrated these schemes did not have the cooperation of President Trump or the Trump campaign, or the knowing assistance of any other American for that matter. That is something that all Americans can and should be grateful to have confirmed.
Ladies and gentlemen, everybody should take a collective deep breath and say thank God. And I would personally tweet out to the president or contact the White House, say something like, "Congratulations, Mr. President." I never thought for a moment he was guilty. Anytime people like Hillary Rodham Clinton dig for dirt, and we know she lies about just about, I think she's a pathological liar, because she lied about the whole Benghazi fiasco and those 4 American men that were murdered by Islamic terrorists. I'm sure she expected it to happen. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, the International Red Cross and the British diplomatic mission there in Benghazi, Libya, they had already all packed up and left. Do you know why? Because they had already been attacked. There were already many attacks and issues involving Islamists, Libyans that were part of a terrorist group. And so it was just a matter of time before America's CIA annex and diplomatic mission was attacked. This is why so many other organizations and people left Benghazi long before we were attacked, months before we were attacked, weeks before we were attacked. I'm sure Hillary Rodham Clinton, she's not new to politics. Couldn't anybody at her level, in her position, couldn't they see the handwriting on the wall that we would be attacked? We actually had been attacked. We had been attacked at the gates of the diplomatic mission already that summer. So we had already come under attack. So anybody that had half a brain would be knowing and thinking that we could possibly have dead Americans on our hands in Benghazi. And Hillary Rodham Clinton got away with it because not Americans stood up and condemned the Obama administration for letting her get away with it. I just want to say that William Barr also said there was substantial evidence, quote unquote, showing that the president was right, that this ongoing investigation undermined his first 2 years of office. And I thought it was also, you're going to hear a lot about this from the Democrats, but I thought it was also interesting that William Barr pointed out that this president has refused to use executive privilege. Do you know that this entire report, all 400 plus pages, bottom line, it didn't need to come out for you to be able to read on the DOJ's website or for anybody else to be able to read? Did you know that? Nobody has a right to read it. You don't have a right to read it. But obviously the president and William Barr and Robert Mueller probably all discussed it. And the bottom line is the president said, I will not invoke executive privilege and keep this from Congress or the American people, which goes to this last clip, and we've got to call it a day. But this last clip in which this stupid reporter, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say stupid, but he is rather ignorant and not appreciating the fact that this entire Mueller report of his investigation's findings, bottom line, it never needed to be released. William Barr never needed to have a press conference because, again, the bottom line is this president, like any other previous president, sometimes has invoked executive privilege and kept information from the American people and from Congress. Let's play this last clip.
There's a lot of public interest in the absence of the special counsel and members of his team. Was he invited to join you up on the podium? Why is he not here? This is his report, obviously, that you're talking about today.
No, it's not.
It's a report he did for me as the Attorney General. He is required under the regulation to provide me with a confidential report. I'm here to discuss my response to that report and my decision, entirely discretionary, to make it public, since these reports are not supposed to be made public. That's what I'm here to discuss.
Impropriety for you to come out and sort of what appears to be sort of spinning the report before the public gets a chance to read it.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
So William Barr had just got done saying that it was at his discretion to release the report. Bottom line, more than that, the president could have exerted executive privilege and the report would never be seen by anyone but William Barr, the Attorney General, and perhaps the Deputy Attorney, Ron Rosenstein, and the Mueller team, right? So, you know, Barr is saying, of course I'm not going to have Mueller standing up here with me. He works for me. Mueller's hired help. Mueller and his team that spent $30 million of your taxes works for the government. He was chosen by the Deputy Attorney General because Jeff Sessions recused himself. So he's hired help. Mueller's hired help. His job's over. Now we have an Attorney General. It's not Deputy Attorney General Ron Rosenstein that's running the show over there at the Department of Justice. William Barr is. And he's decided to let it be public. But he didn't have to, nor does the president. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope that Mueller is investigated because bottom line, I don't know how in the world Ron Rosenstein thought it was appropriate to hire a special counsel to investigate a phony dossier and then to allow Mueller to hire all these pro-Hillary Rodham Clinton attorneys that had donated to her, that voted for her, that supported her, and that hated Donald Trump. I don't know how that happened, and I don't know how Rosenstein allowed Mueller to run amok and go after people like Lieutenant General Michael Flynn and put him in a position without an attorney where he could say something that's incorrect, not by any fault of his own, but because maybe he doesn't remember exactly. So I just think all of this is inappropriate. And when you look at people like Paul Manafort and Lieutenant General Michael Flynn that have really suffered tremendously, when you think about them, think this. They didn't collude with the Russian government. They were never involved in Russian collusion, which was the whole point of the Mueller investigation. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you have a wonderful Easter for our Jewish friends and the Jewish community here and around the world. I want to wish everyone a beautiful and wonderful, happy Passover. Have a blessed Passover, a blessed Easter. Be safe. I hope everybody goes to services, whether that be at your local synagogue or your local church. Enjoy your fellowship with God and appreciate our wonderful country, our Judeo-Christian country that, thank God, is a light, still a light to the rest of the world. And now we've got to focus on really cleaning up all the messes that the Democrats have made. Lot to do in 2019 and 2020 going forward. Thank you for listening. God bless. Good night.
Thank you for listening to The Denice Gary Show. Intelligent talk media.